Keep your hands and head inside the vehicle at all times. Buckle your seatbelts, check your mirrors, sit on back and relax. It's lights out and away we go for the Tall and Short of It podcast. Was like, I felt really bad that Kyle Montando just like hopped in.
Oh, I was like unsure who it was, but you said
Yeah.
Kyle and I wasn't picking up. He doesn't know me, so I was like,
Well, that's what was like even odder, because I knew he wouldn't have known you. He's just popping in to say hello, but like, I guess there's a world where most of the time, if somebody's in like a Discord channel, like they're there, like they're there to be playing a game, whatever.
Right.
But dude, it was just super funny how we were literally just going to be on for like 30 seconds, and then
Yeah.
that was weird.
he was like,
But
"All
you
right."
tossed it up beautifully. You tossed it up beautifully. You were like, "Yeah, I know you've got to go play some Magic games," and I was like, "Yep, I am out of here. Thank you, Aaron."
Oh yeah, I didn't even do it on purpose. I just knew like it was in my head that you had to, so I was like, oh shit, I don't want to hold you up. So
No, that was a quality thing. But yeah, I just thought that was funny. I just wanted to say that.
solid.
Let me go ahead.
I'm all ready to roll if you are. So I hit record already, but whenever you want to start, go for it. Unless you had anything else you wanted to talk before.
Nope.
Cool.
Good to go. Good evening, everyone. You're listening to another episode of the Tall and Short of It podcast. I'm your host, Justin.
And I'm your co-host, Aaron. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Justin, it's good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you too, man. We were doing a little bit of pre-chat before the episode, but yeah, for the most part, we like to get right into things. I don't want to, we don't like to pre-set up the conversation at all, huh?
Sometimes. Depends. But today, what we've got set up for everyone, we've got a little lead up into this week's F1 race. A lot of play-in talk for the first 2 days of the play-in stages at Worlds 2021 for League of Legends. And then a little bit of Magic games that Justin got in the other day. So, pretty good docket. Probably not the longest episode, but I guess we'll see.
Well, you've got to hit the road, Jack, at the end of this one. So yeah, I don't hope not to eat too much time. But yeah, looking forward to chatting. Like you said, we have the first 2 days of the play-in stages. I guess that's going to be the meat of the show there, and then we just have one more day tomorrow of play-ins, and then we move to the next stage.
Yep.
But before we get into all of that, Aaron, start us off with your Rose, Thorn, and Seed, my friend.
Well, you mentioned part of my rose, so I'm going. It's vacation mode now. Once the pod is done, we're getting down to business here. But then I'll be full on vacation mode for the next few days. Going to be
Nice.
down in Florida, and I'm hoping the weather is better than it's expecting to be now. But either way, like I'm just going to be relaxing. I also got a new phone, so that's kind of cool. It's been like interesting to figure out because I got an iPhone and I haven't had an iPhone before, so it's like it's very similar, but there's a number of things that are just like weird or different that slightly bother me. But it's a nice phone. I'm glad I have it. It works well, but it's just gonna take some getting used to, I guess.
Well, I have to say that's funny you said that because, and I guess I'm dumb for not mentioning it, but yeah, I had seen new login to so and so. I was like, oh well, I guess our account got hacked too, and everything went down.
No, our account's good. I had to do all my login stuff. I was like going back through and logging into like Twitch and Twitter and Facebook and just like anything and everything. So got everything rolling here pretty good.
Now, isn't that a scary feeling when you're like approaching the password screen and you're like, Do I know
The
this one?
I hit the forgot password on a lot of different
Hell
apps,
yeah! I like
or forgot
why do like
username
that's what that's what you
because
do, man.
usernames, like I have three, I guess, that I usually use, and it just could be any one of them. It could be
Right.
that one of them was taken when I already, like, they're pretty generic, so it's very possible sometimes for one to be taken and I have to swap to another one. So,
Gotcha.
but yeah, forgot password. I hit it plenty of times. Fortunately, a lot of them are just like, oh, like just confirm your, like, that this is your phone number by
Mm-hmm.
us sending you a little message and you type in the code.
Those are cool.
I was like, great. And then that logs me in and it's like, you want to use your face ID to unlock these apps? I'm like, yes, I do. So I can just stare at the phone and it unlocks them. So it's weird, but it's kind of nice that technology has gotten past
Mm-hmm.
me needing to memorize a bajillion different logins. So
Yeah, that is an interesting adaptation. I love the like just log in with Google.
yeah,
That thing's really helpful.
I do that a
Um,
lot too.
s- so yeah, it's a fear unlike anything else when you approach that password screen. That's pretty funny. But yeah, continue, man.
So yeah, that's my rose. I'm like, it's nice to have this new thing to play with and kind of check out and get used to. And then vacation. My thorn also kind of has to do with vacation because I have been trying to find a tie for this wedding that I'm going to, and like that's gonna match Colleen's dress because I don't have one that matches it. So I went to like three different stores looking for ties. None
Hmm.
of them had like any ties. It was like the rack, and there's like maybe eight of those little like hook things that they hang them on,
Yeah.
and only like two and a half of those have any ties at all. And like, I think the one place I went had like six ties
Mm.
in the entire section. I'm like,
Now, are stores like sold out of things?
maybe, but I just didn't expect ties to be one of them. You know?
Maybe a lot of people are like unemployed going to get new jobs. I don't
Couldn't
know.
tell you.
Weird, man.
Maybe
Well,
it's like
what are they
delivery from
made
other
out of?
country. It's, I mean, a lot of them are probably made in like Bangladesh and like some of the,
Right.
yeah. So it's possible that, who knows, maybe there's an entire freighter just stocked with ties that's sitting in a harbor somewhere in like a quarantine or something. I don't know.
Wow, dude, that's weird. I mean, but
It was
like
very
just thinking,
bizarre.
that's probably what it is. I mean, why else wouldn't there be a tie? That's
Yeah,
crazy.
because I was just like popping into stores and every one of them was like the same exact thing. Very few ties and none that looked remotely like I could wear them to this wedding. So I'm going to bank on there being like a mall down in Florida, somewhere along our way from the airport to the Airbnb, and just gonna bank on stopping somewhere and buying a tie.
Or just check the airport. I feel like there'll be like there's got to be like a business casual store at the
Oh, there!
airport.
I always forget that they
Dude,
have those at
yeah,
airports.
I mean, how many motherfuckers are just flying out for a meeting?
Yeah, that's
Like you
true.
stain a shirt, like, oh, I mean, it might be at a markup, but guaranteed you can find a tie at an airport. Keep your
Yeah,
eye open.
I'll have to look out for
Or
that.
let me just waste your time with this one. You could cut out a little bit of her dress for the color sample, take it to a paint store, get that paint made, and then dip a tie in that
I'll
paint.
stop you right there because paint is another thing that is like very difficult to get right now. Paint,
Dude.
they can't get the raw materials to make a lot of different paints. Like Sherwin Williams, like, is a mess. They have, if you go in, they're like, I'm like, do you have this, 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 and this? Because we're painting the clubhouse that I'm working at right now.
Hmm.
And they're like, no, we don't have any of those things. But
Oh
we can
wow.
pull a gallon from this store and a gallon from that store and a gallon from that store and bring them all here. And then we can mix them and you can pick them up. And it's like, oh, damn. Like you, very rare now that you could just walk into a paint store and just walk out with exactly what you need. It's weird.
Hmm.
So, so paint.
Interesting.
Guess that that rules out your game plan for my tie. But maybe I'll come up with something. Maybe Michael's Crafts. I can like get some dye and dye a tie.
Oh, that would just come out looking like.
Oh yeah,
There's no way that looks good,
it would look
dude.
horrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, you might as well just like wear your Halloween costume. What the hell?
Yep. So,
Jesus.
but yeah, that's my thorn. It was just a pain, and so I'm really hoping I can find a tie. I feel like I should bring one just in case, but none of them match. So I think it's better to
Well,
just go without than
or
to
what about a bow
wear.
tie?
Eh, that's a bit much. I don't have any bow ties that would match either.
Mm,
That's the other
damn,
problem. I'd
dude.
either look like a server with my black bow tie, or I have my bow tie I wore to my brother's wedding, which is like yellow and blue, and Colleen's dress is like burgundy.
Burgundy. Ron Burgundy. Hmm.
Yes, exactly. So,
Gotcha. Okay.
but my seed is the position I've been at work now. I'm settling in a bit more. I'm able to kind of like just do everything pretty easily and keep up with my normal work stuff that I have to do. And I've found some time to do some organizing and things like that of the office that I'm working out of, which is good because it really needed it. Um, the old manager like claimed to be a very organized person, and I feel like what is it? Either Maury or no Jerry Jerry Springer. I'm like, and the lie detector determined that is a lie because this lady didn't have a single email filed in her inbox for the past 2 years. She had folders. She had folders for all sorts of different things with just nothing in them from the past 2 years. So it took me multiple days just to get her inbox down to like only current emails and organized. But now that I've like gotten a lot of that knocked out, I'm like, okay, it should be relatively smoother sailing.
Right.
So
It's easier to keep up than it is to catch up.
it's a good point, or a good way to put it.
Hell yeah,
Exactly.
dude.
So that's my seed. I'm getting things where I want to be slowly but surely. I'm making progress. So
Nice. That's a really good seed. I like that. Now, do you think this is a stretch, but do you think there would be a correlation between your improved mental clarity and your ability to like put things together in the world around you?
um, how so? Or explain a little more.
Well, just I know you've been getting decent results from therapy, so do you think the better organizing of your own life has led to like a rearranging of focus in your work to allow you to like free that time up?
Maybe to a little extent, just do, yeah, I guess some to just do the fact that I don't have other thoughts like cluttering my mind as much.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been able to, yeah, definitely kind of get a little more focused in and everything. I'm not like as distracted or anything and can kind of get into it. So that I would say that definitely does help.
Nice. That's
I
awesome.
think in general though lately I've been on a kick of like if something's not very organized, I want to get it like organized because now that I'm like taking medicine for ADHD and things like that, like I realize I need a sort of like game plan for getting things done, and when everything's like where it should be or easy to like get what I need to do everything else, like that just makes it very much smoother for my brain. I
Mm-hmm.
get to be very smooth brain and just like monotonously go about my tasks.
Well, but smooth brain in the way that you're not creating roadblocks for yourself. Like that
I'm
makes me
not,
think
yeah.
of the like the I don't know who the original guy was, but you'll hear people say every name in the book, but like the Steve Jobs thing where, he wore the same sweater and jeans, right? Like the whole closet is just the same sweater and jeans. To remove that choice, remove that obstacle in the day of like, oh, I just know what I'm wearing. You can replace that thing that used to clutter with just like maybe a more like efficient thought slot, right?
That's fair. I think that's an interesting one though, because like just for me personally, because
Yeah.
I do not have very much difficulty like picking something to wear. Like that's a really like I know what things match and what things don't, so I just grab two things that match out of my closet and throw them on and go out the door. Like a pair of pants
Maybe.
that match a certain shirt, and then I throw on the matching shoes. And I have it's like I have set outfits, but they're just not the same like
Right.
thing again and again. It's like a
I
rotation.
I see what you're saying. I guess I was more relating the like when you're looking at the space around you, trying to formulate a plan in your
Oh,
head, it's
yeah.
easier to formulate that plan in your head because things are laid out
There's
neatly in
less
front of you,
clutter. Yeah.
regardless of if those things are related to the plan. They're related because it helps you make the plan because it's decluttered.
Yeah. No, that
Yeah,
definitely
that's
makes sense.
interesting.
So,
But
yeah.
I think just like a useful thing to have learned about yourself and how to like apply it at work. That's like kind of cool.
Yeah, it can
Yeah.
slow me down a little bit because I have to do like try and do certain things first, but once I get things like in order, it's just smooth sailing. So,
Sure. So you take a little extra time, but you can do better work like when you're doing the work.
yeah, and then
Yeah,
over
that's cool.
longer time like that decluttering and like organizing like pays off in speeding up tasks down the line too. It's not just an immediate thing. It's like a long
Yeah.
term kind of. So, but
Nice.
enough about my week. How have you been, my man? How's your hit me with your rose, thorn, and seed?
So I'll start with my rose. I re-met a gentleman that I went to school with. His name's Ben. So I say re-met because like obviously we would have known each other in school, but he came to play Magic with us
Is it the
last night.
Ben I know?
Most likely,
Okay,
yeah, maybe. I don't know.
gotcha.
And we had some fun games. We can get into that later, but that was just the rose. It's nice to bring someone into the fold and like have them enjoy it, and it's just like an all-around good experience for everybody. So even though we played Monday and Tuesday, um, last night was extra special because we all had we were all just blowing each other, and it was a good time.
Nice.
My thorn, um and this is odd, but it's like a bit of a rose as well. So my thorn is I've been like kind of tired the last couple days, but that is because of the like I'm a night owl traditionally, but the World's games have started like way early in the morning
Real
at like
early.
7 a.m.
Yep.
and but because of my work schedule, I've been able to like be up for them to watch them. So my circadian rhythm has been like significantly knocked off just because of the world's games. So I've been like, napping during some of the less interesting games, like so yeah, I'm just a little more tired than I have been recently due to Worlds, but that is overall a good thing because the games have been super exciting. And again, looking forward to getting into that later. And then my seed is more of a meta commentary about this podcast about podcasting. Is there are a couple of like key elements to where I believe like we are improving, and that is like very exciting to me. I think there's an element to which like Well, there's just a bunch of good stuff going on. But I think that's like interesting to note because we just hit a year a couple weeks back, and I think throughout that time and even like now moving forward, I think we're continually improving and like making headway on making this a better, more fun show like for us. And then if we have more fun, then more people want to listen. So
Oh,
overall, I
100%.
think it's just like getting better at the pod.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty cool thing too for us, just because neither of us came in with any experience of like recording, like putting stuff together, like podcasting. Like we didn't make YouTube videos. We don't like none of those things that a lot of like big podcasts I feel like had kind of going
We didn't
on.
even like say
Like
funny shit on Twitter.
yeah, like we were just kind of like doing just chilling, playing video games, mate, like joking around, laughing, and then we are like, let's do this talking thing. It's kind of
Yeah.
cool. So
Yeah.
yeah, for the fact that we didn't have any background in any of this, like it's pretty awesome that we've got it and kept it going for this long as we have, and continue or plan to continue to make podcasts and everything improve, and it's a lot of fun. So
Yeah, I definitely agree. So that's my seed for the week. Just because I know me and you've had some recent conversations about it. I'm tooling around in my head with it. I know you've been tooling around in your head with it. So yeah, it's just all good stuff. But enough about us and the podcast itself. Aaron, I'm looking forward to, well, tomorrow we'll get to hear from the drivers, and then we have FP1 on Friday. I'm looking forward to it. How you feeling?
I feel pretty good. I haven't really looked to see if there's any like weird weather, because obviously last year the Turkish Grand Prix was a rainy one, but I'm excited for it. After having these like back to back races and everything, when you have even a week in between, it's kind of feels a little weird, like something's missing. So excited for the race. I mean, the driver's standings at the top are 2 points apart right now. There's a lot of reason to be looking forward to this and kind of seeing how it goes. So yeah, like you said, drivers press conferences tomorrow. They'll be getting into practices and all on Friday. But hopefully we have a good fun race. I like the Turkish ring, the Istanbul Park circuit.
Yeah, I was looking into it a little bit. We've got 14 turns, 58 laps. It was off the calendar for a little while. I think it was like 8 or 9 years or so. Last year was the return of it after that hiatus. And a couple of interesting storylines from last year's race, if anybody remembers. That's where we had Lance Stroll on pole after qualifying. And then the start of the race was a very slow start for a lot of the drivers at the front. A
Including
couple of
Max, who is
drivers,
spinning his wheels hard.
including Max, like you said. So yeah, like really interesting shakeup at the start, and then obviously as the track kind of evolved, we had some drier sections. The race kind of cleared up later, but yeah, overall, just a our favorite phrase, just a wet and wild race. We had people spinning like crazy. So that was last year, or just at least like a little sense of last year. But yeah, I'm hoping for maybe some less water,
Yeah,
because it always is dangerous.
I'm okay with it being just a little bit more of a normal race. Hopefully, so I'm trying to look and see if there's any. Says Friday there might be a little bit of rain. Oh, and Saturday there's a lot more likely chance to rain. So
So we may be qualifying in the wet then.
we may be qualifying and racing. So
Okay, gotcha.
I think
Now,
Sunday, yeah, it goes from well, what it's saying right now, 72% to down to 68%. So it's
okay.
going to be. There's potential for it to rain again, which I mean we've had a lot of. I feel like we've had a number of rainy races this year, like more than usual.
There's likely something to be said about the climates that those races are held in. Like, maybe it's actually naive to expect dry races. Like, I'm curious if you look over the history of some of these tracks. There's You can probably put together a percentage of like, oh, there's actually an 85% chance of rain at like X, Y, and Z track. But in your head, during the week and blah, 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 like, oh, it looks sunny out, da, da. When in reality, over the course of time, where that track is, the time of year that those races are usually held,
Yeah.
I'm just curious how much of that there is. I was listening to one of the strategists from Alpha Tauri, and she was talking. They have a preparation window for any given race starts. I think they said 13 weeks before the race date.
Oh wow.
So there's got to be significant data gathering involved and consideration um, for the upcoming races. But then even then, like, just think of how many people have memories of just like, oh yeah, I've never been at Paul Ricard like on a sunny day. Like, it's always been overcast and cold.
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be some kind of like state memory for that in the like in for the positions where it would matter for like
Yeah.
that data, you know what I mean?
I'm sure there's got to be a way to like look back over like historically and find the dates of races at those tracks and like put together kind of some sort of um, spreadsheet or something of like what the weather was like. Did it rain during the race? Did it not? Was it cold? Was it warm? Like all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
Um,
for sure.
so I'd be curious. I wouldn't be shocked if there was something like that out there either. So, but
Somebody's probably already doing those calculations.
yeah, I would guess that the teams probably have people that do a lot of that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
one thing that I did find interesting though with last year's qualifying, of course, we had Lance Stroll on pole, but we had Max and Checo as P2 and 3. So,
Hmm.
I mean, Checo being on Racing Point, of course, at the time, but the fact that the two of them were up there, I think, makes me feel pretty good about maybe just them feeling comfortable with the track, or I don't know. I think that's can't be a bad thing. So,
No, I don't think that's a bad point to make. Looking at the track, I think with the amount of turns, it could be, well, probably the amount of turns doesn't really matter. But looking at the turns specifically, it seems like a track that Red Bull would be suited for, where it seems like a lot of just like medium speed corners and
mm-hmm.
then a couple of high speed sections, like in the back straight, and then the pit lane straight. So based on last year's qualifying, what the track looks like, yeah, hopefully we can have another good weekend from Red Bull. And I'm not sure what it would say about the because that was Racing Point, but that was Mercedes engine.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's something to be said about the Mercedes power being pretty strong there as well.
Yeah, it could be because the Mercedes power is strong in the straights, and they do on the back stretch that is a really long, pretty straight section just with the one turn in the middle. So I think that could be very good for Mercedes power, but I think the rest of everything, the turns and the different corners around the track, might be a little more suited. So I guess we'll see. And it could depend on setup of cars, weather. Like there's a lot that could end up mixing things up. So
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Now, this was one of the races last year where Alex was attacking. You saw him at the front of the pack for a good amount of the race. Now, do you think with him coming back into F1 thinking about a race like this from him, are you looking forward to him being back in a Formula One seat?
Um, I am. I think that what I'm looking forward to is just seeing him get to race
Mm-hmm.
without too much like pressure. I don't think anyone's expecting Alex Albon and Williams to win races or podium, but I think Alex Albon in a Red Bull had those expectations.
Mm.
So I think it will be a lot more relaxed. You can see him be more comfortable in that car and everything, and really get to see what kind of driver he is. I think the mental aspect of being in the Red Bull is probably pretty difficult just in general. So maybe this will let him just be a little more relaxed, not try and make some of those overly aggressive moves or like just let him get some more experience in his career. So
Yeah, for sure. And obviously that, it doesn't matter for this upcoming weekend, but as I was going back over and looking at the footage of last year's race, that was one of the things that struck me. It was like, oh damn, he's like actually racing in that Red Bull, man.
yeah,
So yeah, it just made me think about like, oh fuck, like he's probably actually a pretty good driver. So yeah, looking forward to seeing him back in a seat next year. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. That was just something that came up. Turn 9, Diabolica. What a fucking turn name.
that's a pretty wild name for a turn. I feel
And
like
that's
that's
the four apex section there at the top.
yeah, that's a little concerning like turn. I
I
think
know.
anything that has the name Diabolica sounds just brutal. So I guess we'll see. I think honestly though, I think turns 3, 4, 5, and 6, that little like section there is one of like I think it looks cool just looking at the track, but
Hmm.
it's not as I guess fun because it's a lot harder to pass because you've got like someone's on the inside, then they're on the outside again, and it's just all this back and forth as you're going down into those corners.
Well,
So
that's the beauty of the chicane, right? Because you're going like the outside of the first turn is the inside of the next one. So
yeah,
like it's not game over at the beginning or end of either of them. It's like a whole fight through the chicane.
yeah, and this one, it's those turns are a little like I guess longer than a typical chicane too. So I think that
Sure.
also makes it kind of interesting because you do get to pick up a little bit of speed in each of those stretches.
Mm.
But yeah, I think it's a fun track. I'm hoping with all the turns and the amount of sharp turns, we don't have much wet weather because, I mean, even last year we saw Lewis having to go through some runoff areas because his brakes he was hydroplaning, trying to slow down, people spinning out,
Hmm.
like you said. So it's a track that I feel like would be easy to do that if we do have rain, and was proven last year. So
One thing to be said about the rain, big runoff areas though. So I think
definitely, yeah, it's not a bad track in terms of that. So it still
yeah.
should be a pretty safe even with that. Hopefully, so
Yeah, so definitely looking forward to the Turkish Grand Prix coming up this weekend. Sorry to the fans, no race companion this weekend. Although we have big plans for upcoming races. Not one for this one coming up, but we will have others because Aaron will be in vacation mode.
exactly. So, but I'm looking forward to when we get to have another race companion and everything. It's fun watching them with you and kind of chatting throughout the race. So, looking forward to that when we get the next opportunity.
Hell yeah, man! But Turkish Grand Prix starts Friday. Any last thoughts there, Aaron?
Not really. Just
Okay.
excited for another race. Should be a fun one. That's about
Oh
all I
yeah,
got.
man. Now we've been inundated with about 16 hours of international competition. We've seen teams from across the globe duke it out on Summoner's Rift with champions and villains and heroes alike. What were your impressions of those first games, Aaron?
So the biggest thing for me was that LNG and Hanwha both looked really good just right out of the gates. That first match that they had, first match of play-ins in this year's Worlds, both teams like came out hot. LNG ended up taking that, but Hanwha looked really solid throughout that first game. Definitely was in it. It wasn't any stomp by any means. So I kind of fully expect, like we had talked about a little bit, for both of those teams to be coming out of Group A. But yeah, some really solid play from them, and specifically just like Tarzan, and I think they were saying Ale. Is it Ale or is it
Yeah,
Ale?
I think they were saying Ale.
They both looked really solid
Hmm.
throughout the start of the tournament so far. And I mean, I don't think there wasn't too much that really surprised me out of the other teams in Group A. Group B with Cloud9, I will say I was a little surprised that they looked as hot as they have so far. Yeah, what are your thoughts of, I guess, Group A, Group B? What did you?
Um, Group A, I would say the it's a shame. It's a shame Hanwha had to play LNG for the first game because that was going to be like the team that hands them the loss, right?
Right.
But that game was really fucking exciting. I loved, like, specifically, I loved the pick and ban in that game. Like you had the Tryndamere pick that, like, literally everybody's been talking about. You're seeing mid beast videos, you're seeing, sneaky medios, like, oh, like the secret picks for worlds, like, oh, but actually, like, these are the champions people would be playing. Like, you heard about the Tryndamere mid, Chovy brings it out. It was really hype. I was like, oh shit, like, this is, so, like, it's a thing. It's not just like a solo queue, whatever the fuck.
Yep.
So I
Just
thought that was
right into
fascinating,
it.
dude. And this is the thing that had me thinking about, like, damn, like we are getting better at this. Where the thing that we set up in the previous episode when we were talking about LNG was the one note that we said about them. We were like, that Jax pick seems pretty interesting. And then that's kind of where we left it. We didn't have much to say. What did they answer with in that pick and ban? Ale plays the Jax, and it was
Yep.
beautiful. So, like, just the pick and ban was exactly what you would have expected out of China and Korea, and then the game, like, inside of that pick and ban, like, really delivered. So I loved the set piece match. That was awesome. Now, I have to say, I thought with the lineup that Infinity Esports had, I thought they would have been able to grab some wins. I don't think they looked bad in the games, but there were some pretty, like, rough things from like both the Canids and Infinity Esports. So yeah, pretty easy for Group A with LNG and Hanwha. And then Group B, I think there's a lot more parity among the teams. It seems like, especially with Galatasaray, I think they were saying it.
Yeah.
Like, they were really impressive. I think they gave all, like, the other teams that they played, they gave them a run for their money. They went 2-2.
I think they were also the team that gave Cloud9 the closest run for their money in today's game. There
Yeah.
was, like, it took a little while for Cloud9 to really take control of that and everything, and they took some good advantage, took advantage of some good opportunities to get some kills. They almost had a real sneaky Baron by catching out perks, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then just going straight on Baron. They didn't end up getting it. They had to peel off, but like they were like making some solid moves even
Yeah.
when they were behind. So I was pretty impressed with them as well. But I feel like a number of the Turkish teams that we've had in the past have been surprisingly or like kind of surprise us a little bit. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And we're at a point where I think if you are I think if you are underrating any of these players and any of these teams based on coming from a place that you just don't recognize, I think that's a thought fallacy, I think, at this point in League of Legends, to where they are teams that are right on the edge of the meta. Like, they're picking the same champions, they're doing this, like, they're doing the exact same things. They have god tier players. Like that doggo on Ezreal
yeah,
these last 2 days, he was fucking insane. Like, it's games like that. It's games like that. It's performances like that on Ezreal that people think like, oh yeah, that's why we pick Ezreal for the just flinging mystic shots and just nailing everybody. Like, that's
yeah.
what you think of. But like, you got to embody that. You got to be that kind of player, right? So I think Doggo really did that. Just from like an individual player standpoint, I think Doggo was a fucking animal.
He's definitely the person that I feel like you have to shut down on that team because he just looks like so strong, especially on that Ezreal pick. And I think that's one of those things that like we just end up seeing. We saw it with like Broken Blade was a Turkish player before he came to TSM. Like we've had a few other Turkish players that have just been like studs and standouts that kind of end up going to some of the larger regions and playing there as well. So I think that's cool that they do like really have some of that talent. I mean, I remember when we first started watching Worlds, probably like back season 2, season 3. Any of the like what are now called developing regions that at the time they called wild card regions.
Oh, dude, no
Like
chance. And you would literally just like turn the TV off.
it's
Like, you didn't
literally
need to watch
that,
it.
but that's what it was. It was like the wild card because like they would
Right.
just randomly like once a worlds, one team from one of these regions would get like a single win that would just throw things out of whack. But that was like about all it was. Like these teams are legitimately looking like they can take games off of some of the bigger teams and the larger regions. So
Yeah, and the champion pools are there. If anything, they have some very interesting champions that they're willing to pull out. Now, I know this is less interesting and more of, I think, just status quo right now. Was I think the misfortune fucking came out of left field for me. I did not really expect that at all. With the Amumu, I should have, but
yeah,
I didn't really take the Amumu seriously. Like, part of me doesn't ever know what to do with like the stuff that you see about like scrims and like the solo
oh,
queue,
100%,
whatever. That
yeah.
I like, who knows what you're supposed to do with that stuff. So, and that was again like the thing about the Tryndamere. I was like, I don't know, man. But seeing the misfortune, I'm pretty sure she was pick banned 100%,
She
which
was,
is
yeah.
like
And
fascinating to me.
I think it's a mix of so like I think everyone wants. I think Misfortune got some little tweaks that beefed up her damage a little bit, maybe.
Lethality,
Yeah. So
build being like affordable or like
yeah,
upgraded. Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
with that, and the fact that we already had these engaged supports, people like the Leona, like the Thresh and things like that. It's if especially with other teams not playing very
Thank
mobile
you.
AD carries, like you're not seeing like the Kaisa. Ezreal's like the only like mobile AD carry really that you're seeing, except for if someone gets the Lucian Nami. That's the only other time I feel like that you're seeing a pretty mobile AD carry. It's a lot of like Misfortune, Jin, like Ezreal, some of these longer range AD carries, and people aren't really pinching the bot lane pool at all either. They're just kind
I've
of
seen Draven bans against some players though.
that
That's
is.
not a pinch. That's just like a target
Yeah,
ban.
well,
Just
and
to
that was
say.
also like I'm blanking on the team they played today, so I'd have to look. I think it's um someone on Infinity, maybe playing the Cassidon.
Oh yeah, that was their first. That was the first
Well,
champ that got banned against them.
yeah, like they're known for playing the Cassidon. I'm blanking on which team that was. But just the fact that that's being banned, I think it was Mowen for Beyond Gaming maybe, who plays the
Yeah.
Cassidon. It was either him or No Man's. It was that game. So
Well, it was blue side banned Cassidon first, so it would have been against No Man's
okay, so yeah,
for
there we go.
UOL. Yeah,
Just took
dude.
me three
Shout out
teams to narrow
Leaguepedia, man.
it. Just took me three guesses to narrow it down, but yeah, No Man's just picking up Cassidon bans when that's not a thing. I think they've probably in scrims and all just seen the Draven. There's probably some other unique picks, and I think teams are more comfortable banning them against the developing regions than they might be against like Hanwha or LNG or any of the main stage teams, just because they have other priority bans that they're like these are more meta. We're not as concerned about the pocket pick kind of thing.
Right. Although I do believe in this like phase of a tournament, having the pocket pick is like super fucking useful
Oh
to
yeah,
where you just have the thing that you can go to, like where was it, the Graves? Yeah, for fucking Blue Side picked it. Yeah, for Infinity Esports, they picked the Graves. I believe that was for the jungle.
yeah.
And yeah, because they picked a Mumu support as well. That that pick to me was so much of like, and I don't know what it was for the player, but when I saw it, I was like, damn, that's dope. In the sense of here's a pick that this player has that he doesn't have to fight over at all.
Mm.
Nobody's banning it out in other games. It's not like everybody's playing it.
Well,
So
and
it's something that you can go ahead.
what was also wild about that was that that was Beyond Gaming. They picked that was against Cloud9. They picked up the Lilia and
Yeah.
basically baited Cloud9 into picking the Malphite for top lane, since they thought it was going to be Graves top instead
Mm,
of Graves jungle, and then
mm-hmm.
they just went and played Lilia in the solo lane, and honestly did not do too badly with it. Like I expected
No.
that to be a bit worse than it was, but it was really not a bad pick. So it was interesting to see that flex. So yeah, to your point, like just the flexibility of some of these teams to pull out pocket picks in best of ones, it's like
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely nice in best of ones. It'll be a little tougher
Oh
once.
yeah, like you may not get that in a best of three or a best of five, but just for one game, just to know nobody is fighting for the thing that I'm like looking to play here. We don't have to like give up two of these to get this. We don't have to pick this first to make them. We can just like, ah, yeah, just pick me this.
Yep.
That's super cool. So that was a pick that I wanted to talk about, was the Graves specifically, because I thought that was super interesting. But yeah, just literally misfortune in every game. The Amumu ended up like not being that strong. We see
I
it
think it's
banned a little bit,
I think
but
it's 04 right now in terms of
gotcha. So yeah, that's just rough.
yeah. But I mean at the same time um it seems like a really like the pick makes sense, especially with the
It makes
misfortune you
sense,
have.
yeah.
Like, and so I think if you end up with a little bit better execution, maybe you could end up with. I mean, like two of the times that Amumu was played, one was played against LNG. It was played twice against Hanwha. It was played against, three times against Hanwha and once against Cloud9. Like they're picking the Moo against some of the best teams in each group. So it makes sense in this stage that it would be more than likely like a lower win rate. But the fact that it's getting played this consistently, I think we should expect to see it being picked up in the main stage.
Sure. I think this is like not strategy related at all. I just think Amumu's so funny as like a champion because he's this like tiny little avatar, but the idea is like he's like a massive tank. Like he's super fucking dense. Well, he can be, and I think that's like one of the biggest problems with him here in the support role is he just doesn't have the stats.
Yeah.
But when he is like, when you get full gold Amumu, he's just like a little fucking. He's like a little rock of like the densest material on Earth or whatever.
Well, and I think just in general, it's funny more like his lore that he is this just little sad mummy boy who no one wants to be his friend, and he just cries and cries and cries, and like his ult is literally him crying so hard that everyone just like stops. And it's it's unrelated to League, but it reminds me of, did you know Pennsylvania has our own like urban legend like fantasy like creature thing? Like you have West Virginia has like Mothman, and like different places have like these urban legend type
Is ours the Jersey Devil?
No, but the Jersey Devil is a good example of one. But ours is called Squonk. And
who the fuck made that up? How long has that been around?
It's been around for a while,
dude.
And
4 years tops.
No,
Squonk.
Hold on.
What, dude? I can't believe you just said that.
No,
that's literally
I'm dead set. 1910. It's a mythical creature in American folklore, and basically all this thing does is it's really ugly and like wrinkly and has like warts and shit like that all over its skin, and if someone sees it, it gets surprised or like scared, and it just cries until it dissolves and disappears. Like it just cries because it's like so ugly it doesn't want anyone to see it, and it just cries and like vanishes.
Wait, what?
I'm dead serious. I am linking you right now, but that's what a Moo kind of reminds me of. It's
That's
like
funny.
this ugly little like creature.
Whoa, it's kind of like what Eeyore looks like.
And even in the little picture that it has, it's got tears coming off of its face. Like,
I see that. Dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Somebody just saw like an overgrown frog one day and then just projected all of their sadness onto it.
Yeah. It's
dude,
1910, man. In
they didn't even have cell phones back then, man. What do they know? I don't fucking know anything back in 1910. Holy shit.
Yeah, I just thought that was really funny. I'm like,
Squonk.
Squonk.
Dude, new name for the podcast. We are no longer the tall and short. We are the Squonk.
We are the Squonk.
Dude, what the fuck?
Yeah, Shane told me about it because his brother told him about it. I guess his brother like found out living up in Central PA about this thing called the Squonk.
Yeah, of course. All those fucking mountain people just high on fucking opiates, seeing overgrown fucking frogs. Jeez almighty. Hey, there's another Squonk over there. It's sad people seeing overgrown frogs and saying, that's a sad frog.
That's all it is.
Dude, now I'm just making fun of everybody. I'm making fun of this. Whatever.
So, League of Legends. A Moo. He, lately has just been crying and then disappearing. So that I guess relates to the Squonk. He just gets deleted off the map. But
Yeah.
um, but
The
yeah,
Moo
I do
skin.
like that pick. But I also thought it was interesting. The other one that I found just a little bit interesting was seeing the Zed get picked up
Hmm.
a couple of times. Once by LNG, once by Infinity, I believe. Or no, it was
Hmm.
Peace. So I like I fully enjoy having Zed back in this. I like that there's some excitement with some assassin play and everything. I don't know what are your thoughts. I like it being there.
I think if we can't have a game 5 draft pick blind with the possibility of a ZVZ, I don't want it at all.
You don't want it.
I only want Zed if we can see two Zeds.
Just that's
I'm just kidding. That's dumb. No, I think Zed. I think Zed has big like playmaking potential, and I think a champion like him on the world stage is very exciting. Like a big Rise alt or like a big Talia alt, big Gnar alt. Like it is it's a fun champion and an exciting champion to watch. And even though it has like some people may find the assassin play pattern like kind of frustrating, where it's just like uh, it almost feels so free to kill, but so much setup goes into it, and especially when the pros do there's so much that goes into the vision game around getting picks and
yeah.
all sorts of stuff that I do find picks like Zed, the Talon, LeBlanc, Kennen. These are champions that excite me a lot because it makes players like problem solve because they have to figure out how to get in and around. But once they do, it's like GG.
Well,
I actually love Zed. He's cool.
and I think that it's interesting that they're being picked up still, even in this kind of meta where it is so there's just so much crowd control that could shut them down. Like if a Zed gets like hit with a Leona ult at the right time, or like Leona's right there and just bops him with the stun and then ults and like does all that shit. Like he is screwed. So you really, like you said, a lot of setup goes into playing these. I mean, the first Zed game he was against Galio. He was against, or sorry, no, not against Galio. He was against Kiana, against Leona, against Fiora. Could potentially get some CC in there, and at least slows. So like they're playing it in these just metas. The other game it was played against Kennen and Aurelia, Rakan, Gnar, or sorry, I misread that. But yeah, anyway, with this meta the way it is, the CC against like it seems pretty even. I know there have been seasons where the assassins just were kind of out of control a while back, but it's fun to see them getting some play. But also, you see people playing the Rise, the Syndra, the Oriana. Like we have a pretty good mix.
Yeah, it seems that we're seeing a pretty a pretty diverse meta. Teams trying to do different things, different strategies. The one thing I know I said to you offline was the priority on Silas from a bunch of teams.
A lot,
Um,
yeah.
there are just so many good ultimates that people are bringing to the table that he just is a great champ, and he fits right into like what's going on in the meta. He fits into the try and kill you before you kill me kind of idea. And watching Perks play the Silas specifically in the I think it was the most recent game that they played, where or maybe it was the one from earlier in the day today, where the Amumu like walked into mid lane when he was level 3, and immediately Perks just like ulted him and then just ulted the ground and then just won the fight. It was so fucking funny. So yeah, I think Silas is like big game changer, and like he's fun to watch.
Yeah. And he just like the healing and everything that you get from him too. I mean, I think it was the same Cloud9 game. He just had the double kill bot lane right towards the end that pushed that, and that was against Beyond, I think, where they were just able to like push down the Nexus after him getting the 2 kills in the 1v2 on the Silas, and he was still like
dude,
half
that
health.
was disrespectful.
Like, it was
through the Zonias.
Yeah, the man
Brutal.
forgets how to press R when he Tryndamere ults, but then he goes in and just does that kind of thing on Silas. Like,
yeah, fucking weird.
Like he got out Tryndamered by a Silas when he played Tryndamere mid.
That was really funny. I heard Marks was saying that. I think it was. But yeah, very very interesting. I like Fudge on the Malphite. That game was hilarious.
Yeah.
The Baron where he literally just stood there and they could not get through him. Yeah, Cloud9 was on a tear. Honestly, I think that was like the biggest surprise. I think there was like a pit in my stomach thinking like, oh man, here we go again, right? But yeah, starting out doing pretty well, so I'm like very excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, and tomorrow they play the 0-3 Unicorns of Love. That's their last game of this start of the play-ins before the knockout stage. So if they can win that, then Cloud9 ends up just being straight on through to the main stage and everything. They don't have to worry about any weirdness. I mean, there's still potential for them to make it through anyway, but even if like all they would need is Detonation Focus Me to lose their game and they would be all good to go. But yeah, they've looked really strong. I'd love to see a 4-0 come out and just put them with some confidence right into the regular group stage.
Yeah, definitely. And they're playing like they can do it. I don't think it's like oh well they threw at the Baron or like oh well he flashed on top of himself or whatever it was. So yeah, and as they like to say in the racing world, they did it on merit.
Yep, not because of their wallet.
Not because of their wallet, and not because somebody crashed out.
Who is? I have to ask you. You've probably been pulling your hair out. Is it Valdez that is the play-by-play from Korea?
Say that again.
Valdez.
All the way through.
Is Valdez the Korean caster?
I'm not 100% sure. Actually, I don't think they did a good job of like describing where they're from. They're all just like on. I don't know.
Gotcha. Because I think so. Valdez and Wolf were casting together. Okay, so they're both LCK casters, but one of them kept saying like all the things that you hate from LS, like sinner like picks and cheater recalls and things like that.
I fucking heard that.
And I was like,
say cheater recall.
I
like,
thought
shithead.
And he threw out sinner a couple times too, and I was like, Justin's not gonna like that.
No, it just, whatever. Everyone has their own style, but it's just indicative of like, oh, I know who's on your YouTube recommended feed. You know what I mean? It's like, get the fuck out of here, dude. I know who you watch on Twitch.
Well, they casted together
free.
for a bit, I guess. Then, if they're LCK casters, they've probably casted side by side with them. So that's
LS.
They didn't even have to search his YouTube. They just.
That toxicity just leaked over.
It was like when you hang around someone for long enough, you just start picking up. You start acting or sounding like them when you talk. And
jeez, yeah, I did hear that. So that's funny that you mentioned that. But yeah. No, overall, I think the casts have been really good, but obviously, like we're not even at the main event yet, which is pretty funny. and it seems like they recognize that on the like broadcast, which is kind of cool. I'm happy they're not like, I don't know. Did you see the commercial that they did like at the very start of the broadcast?
No, I've only caught on, like I've gotten up and like started watching like right at 7 basically. So I
Gotcha.
haven't seen any of the like other stuff.
There there's like a it's like an advertisement that the Riot team put together, and it's like a bunch of different fans from the different regions like talking about their like use of like hopium and how it like helps them as a fan. And it's these like really weird shots of them like dancing around. It's just like it all feels very like stock image.
That makes me
I
really uncomfortable.
dude, I literally like I turned it off.
That
I was
sounds
like,
so
I can't watch
cringy.
it.
I would be so like,
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad.
yeah, that doesn't sound great.
I was like, okay, so that's what you guys choose to put instead of like the drums and the 3D dragon. Like, fuck off, dude. It's so stupid. But that was my only gripe with the broadcast. Everything else is dope. Although I'm pretty sure I said this last year too. Like, there's something notably missing with everybody in masks. You know, nobody's in the same room, and there's no fans at all.
Oh yeah, 100%. But I mean, I guess they've all been vaccinated. They're all in quarantine, have to stay
Yeah,
relatively or have to stay. I would assume quarantined on like a campus of sorts,
right.
specifically for them for the events and all. So
And I think they ship out like right when they're done playing, and they get driven in like when they're pretty close to playing. So it's all very they're keeping a tight ship, which I'm happy for. I don't want any of the players that were watching getting sick. I don't want any of the friends, family, loved ones. I don't want any of the bad stuff happening. So I'm glad that everyone's like taking proper precautions that they can put the tournament on even.
yeah,
It's
have they
kind of
had any fans or has it been? I didn't think so.
it's cold. I don't think they even like 25%. I don't think they even fucked around with it. They just made one really dope stage and just
Hey,
let it at that. Yeah, whatever, man.
yeah.
I'm here for it. I just wanted to comment on that. But yeah, overall, man, I think it's been super fun. I'm very impressed with the teams and players that I wasn't as familiar with. Overall, it's just been yeah, it's been a fun couple of. Here's a thing. How many people got fucking murked on terrible bases? Just
Oh,
people literally
bad.
just like
Like losing
standing in the
barons
middle
over
and
them.
like, losing games. That they lost that game where he got killed in the blue buff
Mhm.
jungle. They lost that game like right
Well,
after.
but then also there have been ones where someone just like bases at a bad time on a ward or something, and then the other team's like, "Oh, he's basing, kill
Dude,
Baron
I
now."
know. I know. Like that's been like the one like glaring like mistake that's being made a bunch.
Yeah,
Like literally just in the middle of nowhere, just like, yep, this is where I'll go home. That's fine.
yeah.
What?
I
Crazy.
just gonna stand here for 8 seconds.
I don't know, man. That was like that was the thing that was making me pull my hair out. But I was like, you know what? Shout out for the teams being able to punish because that was fucking stupid.
Oh yeah, no, they teams were taking advantage of that, and I think that's a great thing to see that they're like comfortable just jumping on that and like making those plays. Like it's very decisive, which is fun. Did you have any like players from the developing regions that stood out? I mean, obviously, with C9, Hanwha Life, and LNG, I think we can say that everyone seems to be doing a really pretty solid performance so far. But I mean, you mentioned Doggo earlier, but I guess were there any other players that really kind of caught your eye?
Well, I have to say, maybe I'll answer it in this way. I was looking for a support to really latch onto from one of these teams, but again, and this may just be biased, like the player that seemed to be hitting the most interesting timings and roams was Vulcan still.
Yeah.
Like I didn't see anybody playing as heads up as he was from the support role. And he was in the right place at the right time a lot.
Yeah.
So I'll give an honorable mention to Vulcan, but is there a player that stands out?
There were a couple of names I feel like I heard like
Okay.
pretty consistent, like and Mojito, the jungler for Galatasaray, is one of them that seemed to
Yep.
be doing pretty solidly. Like not really putting himself in too many bad positions and everything, and looked relatively as like more comfortable. He played the Zinzao against Cloud9, like he was moving around the map pretty well. He had the Lee Sin against Detonation Focus Me. So I mean he's I think one of the ones that stood out more. It's definitely tough with like these teams being I guess having the score lines that they do, like being like 1-2, 0-3, 2-2, things like that. It's tougher to like for those players to stand out, but
Oh, sure, but yeah, that doesn't mean there haven't been like big plays in the games though.
yeah,
Just
definitely.
after watching, how many matches, 16 games, it's like it's a bit hard to stand out. So I think to answer the question best is Doggo. Like he was just flashy. I
Yeah,
remember him. Yeah.
solid. Well, hopefully we can see some more play. I mean, we've got 4 more games tomorrow. Then we're gonna have the elimination round on Friday. So we've got a couple best of matches for those.
Nice.
So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're gonna have an action-packed weekend. We will have coverage of all of those games next Wednesday. We'll have coverage of the Turkish Grand Prix next Wednesday. That is all here on the tall and short of it. You'll find us here every fucking Wednesday.
There you go. So Justin, you had some Magic games. It was last night, right?
We played both Monday and Tuesday, actually.
Ooh, okay. So hit me with it. How'd it go? Did you get to play any new decks? Get some wins?
I got one win. That one's fun. We can talk about that. But the main thing I think that's like interesting to talk about is that like we may actually be able to dig into is I'm trying a different strategy of like trying to play a little more optimally, and I wanted to see where that started, like where I'm tripping up the most.
Okay.
And what I've come to, or at least one answer to start at, seems to be like the starting 7 cards that I keep at the very start of the game.
I was wondering if that was going to be part of it, just from us talking and everything. It seems like you've had a few times where you've like had to like burn and go down to 6 or even 5. Like the one day you said for the patron day with
Yeah.
the podcast that you listen to. Or is it, I always get mixed up.
They just
Twitch
make
channel,
YouTube
YouTube videos.
videos.
Gotcha. So like burning down to 5 cards for your starting hand for that. A couple games where I was curious when you said that. The first thing that popped into my mind was back when we played League and you were really trying to improve. You had spreadsheets of like different things for like
I would track my
like
CS
your CS
numbers.
at 10
Oh,
minutes
yeah.
and like different things like that.
Well, that
to
really
see where
helped.
you could like improve and like make like turn those little inches into feet and everything
Yeah.
to improve yourself. So I was curious if you had like applied that kind of thing, like you have a chart of okay, I played this deck, like why did I lose? Like, I got stuck with 2 lands and didn't pull another land and couldn't, like, cycle through my library. Like,
Right.
and you're like, okay, so maybe I need to add a little more, to, like, searching through my library, or, like, kind of tune your decks a little bit more that kind of way. So,
Yeah, so there's been, like, yeah, exactly like you're getting at. It's, I think, my, like, card selections going into the decks are fine. Like, I feel like the numbers are okay. Like, I have enough ramp, I have enough card, for the things that I want to matter, I feel like they're there. So the it seems like the big problem comes from, like I was saying, the cards that you keep. So instead of trying to, like, oh, like, all right, we only get to play like 2 or 3 games, what 2 decks do I really want to play? And so, like, I'll bring like 8 different lists, knowing I'm only going to get to play like 2 of them. And then there's this onus of, like, oh, like, what do I really want to play? So I'm, like, kind of caught up in it all, and then before I know it, they all have their hands, they're like, oh, like, ready to go. So I'm like, oh, I'll just keep this, whatever. And then, like you were saying, yeah, I never draw into the second or third land or whatever. So what I've decided to do, and this went well for Monday and Tuesday, where I just picked one deck that I was going to play for the evening, and then just however many games we got to play, that's how many games I was playing that deck. And then not care about win or lose, not care about, oh, like, did I interact at the right moment? Did I swing it in the correct amount of times or whatever? I was just going to really focus on the opening hand. And, like, did I think about it? Did I go to my second 7? Because you get a free second 7 cards.
yeah.
Right? So I wanted to think about being more critical at that very opening stage of the game. And I think I was more successful at it the second night.
Gotcha.
I kept what I would now consider questionable hands on Monday. So just the attention to it has shown me, like, oh yeah, like, you are keeping dumb hands, or, like, questionable hands at least.
Yeah. Do you think that sometimes with that, with you, if you go to, like, your third hand, fourth hand, whatnot, is due to the fact that you're, like, targeting such a specific, like, with some of your decks, like, a specific win condition and things like that? I feel like that could be something that you could, like, kind of zone in on, and that you're so worried about getting that, like, getting the best hand to get that you just don't necessarily end up with, like, a good hand to, like, get the ball rolling at all.
Even play the game, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have the card that says you win the game, but I don't have any cards that say you get to play the game. Right? That's the yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. That's the, like, I see the card, I'm like, oh, that's one of 2 that I need.
Because especially with, like, Magic being a game where, like, you're creating your decks, you're, like, you have specific, like, styles and play, like, different play. There are very few decks I can imagine that you can just, like, I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of decks with multiple win conditions, but there are going to be, I'd say, more decks that have, like, a specific play style that you're going to try and play, like, every time. Like, having kind of a, like, trump card, like, oh, I got Exodia, boom, hit them with it.
Yeah,
like,
at least something to play towards. Even if you don't, even if you only get close to it, like, 3 out of 10 games or whatever, at least you have something that when you're drawing cards, you have something that, like, you can look forward to, which is, like, weird. But if you don't put anything in the deck that actually, like, definitively ends the game or puts you in a position where, like, you're going to win the game, I'm not sure. Like, there's got to be serious problems in deck building then,
Yeah.
right?
And so, like, since you
So yeah.
spend all the time, like, focusing on these strategies and win conditions and everything, I feel like it would be easy to tunnel onto, like, oh, I just need to get to this. So, like, I need to get to that thing. And to lose sight of, yeah, that, like, starting hand or, like, your setup early on.
Wow. That okay. No, that's actually a good point. So you're saying I've learned I've learned what cards to look for, but that's not necessarily good enough. I'm now in a position where I need to learn how to play the deck better, and a big part of that is knowing what I need at the setup to get to that end
Yeah,
game.
whether it's
Yeah.
okay, I need to, like, down the road, I'm gonna need to have 6 different lands for mana to be able to get, like, to play this card. Okay,
Right.
well, if I only have one in my opening hand, then, like, that's not gonna be a good opening hand, most likely, because you don't know if you're gonna, unless you have, like, a scry or something like that to cycle through your deck already, like, you could just get stuck, like, pulling non-land cards again and again.
Right.
So, like, yeah, kind of thinking through that game plan and being like, like, focusing on the early game a little bit, I guess, is
Yeah,
a way
yeah,
to put
like
it.
very much so. Very much focusing on the early game.
Yeah. So that's
And-
cool that you're, like, honing in on those, like, it's like tuning some more aspects of your play style as opposed to, like, the decks, because it does sound like a lot of your decks are really in solid positions to be competitive and all. Um,
or at
so
least to a degree that I'm happy not spending any more money on them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because at a certain point, and this is like the hard truth, is at a certain point I could spend any amount of money that I want on any amount of good cards that I want. But if I don't know how to fucking play them, I'm still never gonna win. You
yeah,
know. So I think my focus has been just learn how to play the game better instead of like constantly torturing myself about like what card I put in the deck. That like had to be the thing. It's like, well, no, you may not have played the first 3 cards even right, you
yeah.
know. So that's the angle that I was thinking of. I think I did better at it during the second game, or during the second night of games. But yeah, so I just played like 2 different decks, one on each night. The one win that I did get was playing a new deck that is black, red, green, and I originally had the idea just to put it together for that color combination, and there was a 2 card combo printed, or a new card got printed recently that created a 2 card combo. So you have Witherbloom Apprentice, and then a card called Fury Storm. Witherbloom deals damage to each opponent whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell. Fury Storm says copy this spell for every time you cast your commander, and then Fury Storm lets you like copy a spell. So what you can do is if you've cast your commander at least one time during the game, you have Witherbloom Apprentice on the battlefield, you cast Fury Storm, and then point the copy at itself, and then it just infinitely would copy itself on the stack, and then everybody dies because the Witherbloom's on the field.
Gotcha. That's
And
interesting.
yeah, it's cool. It's really cool. I love the Witherbloom. There's another card that works similar, but that keeps it just in black. But Fury Storm is red, so I have to be in green, black, and red. Okay. I have a copy of Corvold. I did not want to build Corvold. He's easy street for that color combination. I wanted to find something a little more interesting, but I wanted to be able to play that combo like inside of that deck. So I ended up having a home for Corvold, my Witherbloom, and this Fury Storm. And the game that I won with the Witherbloom Fury Storm combo because, and this was a game I had the Witherbloom Apprentice in my opening hand, and I was like, it wasn't the main reason I kept the hand, but it sure helped. and then just in the game, that was like a top deck on one of my turns, and I was like, or the Fury Storm was a top
Yeah.
deck, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I was pretty happy about that. That deck is really fun to play. I like that a lot. I think that's one that's gonna get a Soul Ring.
That's like the good version of your Pokemon attacked itself in confusion.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
hurt itself in confusion. This card's like, I'm gonna use it on myself. So that's pretty cool that you found like a new deck that you could make based on that and everything, and kind of get rolling with it. That's fun.
Well, much to Ian's dismay, I think that's what gives me the inspiration for most of the decks that I build is I have these cards that are for this combo. I want them to have a home because I want to combo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just build a deck so though like I've told you before, so those cards have a home.
Yeah.
But I always want to have like you were saying, something to draw towards. Even if the
Right.
deck isn't like really good, even if I'm not like tutoring and like playing free cards and whatever, I still want to have like 2 or 3 cards that when you put them together, I win the game.
Yeah, and
I like
think you
having
get
a hard
joy.
out.
You get joy out of like doing that to Ian specifically.
Yeah, it's
though.
weird. I don't know.
No,
I don't
it's
know. That's the gene that I got.
I get the same like joy out of telling bad puns and bad jokes to my friends because they're just like, "Oh my god, like
Yeah.
stop!" And I'm just like, "No, I'm not gonna stop," because I enjoy watching them like be annoyed more than I enjoy hearing them like laugh at my jokes. Like I don't need to
Gotcha.
be funny. I just need to like tell jokes that I think are funny that bug them.
That is a strategy you could go for.
I do often. It's fun.
Nice.
So
So yeah, that's the way I like to build decks. That's what inspired this deck. But it only won one of those 3 games. But yeah, it was pretty fun. I'm not sure I'm gonna be brewing any more decks here for a while, just because I'm like it feels like I'm out of cards that are like could be in a deck.
work
Because
together and all. Yeah.
yeah, because after a while, if you don't, yeah, eventually the binders just run empty when you fill up a bunch of decks with cards. But that's the fun of it. I'm looking forward, like I said, to playing more games with Ben. He said he had a buddy that may want to get into some Commander games,
Nice.
so we could have a lot of Commander coming up. Nothing like
more solid
competitive,
group
I doubt.
numbers wise too, which is nice.
Yeah, just for the possibility to get more games in.
Yeah.
And I'm fine playing like lower power level if it's more quantity. I think the idea was like, dude, if we're only playing like once a week, I want to play with my cards that win the game. But because we're playing more often, I'm comfortable just like playing to play. I think that's cool. But even in just like playing to play, I think there's definite things to improve on, like my keeps at the beginning of a game.
There you go. Well,
But yeah, man,
glad you got
that's
more
my
games in.
my magic chat. Thank you. I'm glad that you're glad.
Oh, absolutely. I enjoy talking about it. I may not understand how all the cards work, but I still get the like enough of it to I feel like have a good time chatting about it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So-
And it's nice to know that I have someone in my corner when I'm playing those games. It feels like
Oh hell yeah.
whoever Rocky Balboa's trainer was. Where he's
Yeah.
like, get up, Rocky. That's how I feel when Ian's just punching the shit out of me. Like what would Aaron say?
Kick Ian's ass.
Yeah.
So, well, we got some solid Magic talk. I guess anything else that you wanted to hit on before we move on to our flavor of the week?
Yeah. Now you cut out there a little bit. Would you like me to start, or were you saying you would start?
I was asking if you had anything else that you were looking to chat about before the flavor of the week.
Gotcha. Then my answer is no. There's nothing else I would like to get into.
Sure.
Why don't you give me your flavor of the week, Aaron?
Sounds good. So for my food, this past Friday, One of my friends was in town, and so we just ordered some food from a pizza shop nearby, and they have, I think they called it the Manayunk Special, and it was like a supreme meat lovers pizza. So it had like every type of meat on it, but it also had like the peppers and mushrooms and all the different like vegetables that would be on a supreme pizza, and it was just delicious. It like that shit slapped. So that was my food for the week.
Nice.
For my music, I've been listening to a bit more of my like folk music, some like Coulter Wall, folk and country, like Coulter Wall, Johnny Cash, like Green Sky Bluegrass, some of those things. And I think like the fall weather and like that, it's like just coming out a little bit. So I'm enjoying that for my music. And then for my show, it's an interesting one. I think I'm not sure if you would enjoy it or not, but I think you would be interested in giving it a shot because it kind of relates to us slightly. So it's called The Midnight Gospel. It is a show on Netflix that was made by the creators of Adventure Time. And so it's like a weird art style cartoon about this guy who is a space caster. So it's like a futuristic podcaster. And he just each episode, he basically like pops his head into this simulation chamber thing that like takes him to some simulated world with all these like people and like different creatures and stuff like that, and he just like interviews them and like talks to them. And so the art is just like all super weird and crazy based on what this like weird alien simulated world is. But then he's just like doing a podcast and just like goes on and on and on until he is just like wrapping things up, and he's like, or things like start going badly around him, and he's like, okay, time to go, see ya, and just like dips out of his little simulation chamber. It's kind of weird, it's kind of out there, but it was pretty like, it was entertaining in a strange way because there's no plot really at all. You're just listening to this like conversation, and apparently it's based off of interviews from some guy's like actual podcast. So
weird.
Yeah, it's
that's cool. That's like very like meta.
Yeah, so it's the writer, I guess, of the show had a podcast with a number of like his friends, I guess, as special guests or like other comedians. He had Joey Diaz on it at one point, and like
gotcha.
Yeah, so this whole thing is just like based on his podcast episodes. It's kind of trippy colors and like weird stuff going on. It was okay. I enjoyed it, so I definitely think it's worth a shot, but it's weird enough that I feel like some people would be like, nah, I hate this. So
how long are the episodes?
I don't think they're that long. I think they're only like half hour. But
okay.
Let me
interesting.
Here. The episodes, actually I can't do that because it's going to start playing through my headphones. But yeah, I think they're about half an hour long. They're like not crazy long, but
okay.
Yeah.
And what's it called?
The Midnight Gospel.
The Midnight Gospel. Okay.
Yeah. So that is my show. So that's my flavor of the week.
Nice, dude. For mine's kind of dumb because I'm less experimental, but so for my visual medium, I would just like to make the joke and the express my relief in Sarah's almost done with Grey's Anatomy. That's almost out of my life for the near future, at least. I have a feeling there'll be a restart at some point.
Wait, is it
Um,
ending?
I think it's done, actually.
Interesting. That's been
I
going for a long time.
I'm fucking clueless. There's like 17 seasons.
Yeah, that's a long show.
Yeah. And some of it's mind numbing. There's been like I remember like three moments of like genuine interest where like the thing happening on screen was like actually engaging and not just like contrived bullshit. But Sarah's a really good sport. She, you know, whatever. She lets me clown on those fools. But
It's
yeah, so that's go ahead.
it's one of those shows. It's for Midwest housewives who just
So
like
good.
they need some excitement in their life, some romance, some like risk of life, some intrigue, you know?
I don't know
Even
what it
if
is,
it's
man.
contrived bullshit.
But it's definitely not for me. I can tell you that.
I believe you.
Um, but again, Sarah coming through. She made her world famous chili this week.
Ooh, and it's
So
getting
I
chilly
love,
weather.
dude. Yeah, exactly. That's what I have. I have chili dash autumn food.
Oh
So
yeah.
you have like the nice like little cool breeze in the air, but it's still kind of warm. You get like a nice like warm plate of food. So yeah, definite autumn vibes. Definite autumn vibes with the chili. So I love that. And then for my music, I would like to shout out the soundtrack to Satisfactory. Um, it's just this like kind of like ethereal, spacey kind of sounds going on just in the background. But
Gotcha.
it's one time where I've taken to just like not having music on or like a podcast or whatever. I'm just kind of comfortable just listening to the game. I love hearing the like sounds of the foundry going, like your machines and like the
Yeah.
water in the pipes and stuff. So yeah, I think I'm just like enjoying the soundscape of the game a
Some
lot.
like ASMR type.
A little bit,
Or just or more like white noise, like waves crashing, like those kind of
that kind of thing,
more
like
like
just like
that. Okay.
ambient, like environmental noise. Yeah, I mean, come on, when you say ASMR, you think of fucking Amaranth sucking a microphone. Like,
Yeah, I wasn't trying to direct it towards that. I was thinking
no,
more of
it's no
like
longer feathers along a microphone. It's fucking dude. It's a
yeah,
different thing now. But
you're
yeah,
not wrong.
I'm enjoying the Space Factory ASMR.
Space Factory ASMR.
Big vibes, big Space Factory vibes.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's my flavor of the week, dude. It ended up being a little funnier than I thought it would be, actually. So
Yeah.
there you go. That's
That's
good.
solid, man. Well, I guess anything else before we wrap on up for this episode?
Other than we probably got to fix your mic for next episode. You've been cutting out like crazy.
Yeah, I'll have to figure out what's going on. That's a bit annoying. I'm not really sure.
That's all right. But other than that, that is my final thought. Would you like to take us out of here?
Sure. So thank you everyone for coming to listen with us again. This has been another really fun episode talking about Worlds. I'm really excited that we're back into the actual games and all. So, of course, check us out on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter at Tall and Short of One if you want to get in the conversation at all. Drop a comment, drop a like. Yeah, Justin, go ahead and let's wrap this thing up.
Tell your mom, tell your friends, tell your dad, get everybody listening. We're on Spotify, we're on Anchor, YouTube, Google Podcast. Hit us up on Twitter. Thank you, everyone, for spending your time with us. We really appreciate it. That has been another tall and short of an episode, everyone. Peace out.
Later.